Once again, Manchester United are just showing how they are the model of inconsistency, and now I think you can really make the argument, and it would be a very strong argument, that they are one of, if not the most inconsistent teams in the Premier League. Like literally, they will have a good run for a few games where they will play really well, they'll look like a top tier team, like where they should be, and then literally they will not be able to win a game to save their life, especially against like lower tier teams, and it's kind of annoying, especially when you see them play well against a top team like Arsenal or Man City or literally anyone like that, and then they play against a team like Sheffield United or Luton and they really struggle. Yes, they might still come out with the win against those teams, but then they lose to teams like Bournemouth like that, and it just gets really annoying. Even though sometimes when they win against the lower tier teams but they struggle, it just isn't a good sign. They should be playing very well against those teams and they should be winning quite comfortably. So some of the examples of these are when Man United, they lost 1-0 to Crystal Palace, when they lost 3-1 to Brighton, when they lost 3-0 to Bournemouth, when they lost 2-1 to Nottingham Forest, and most recently this weekend when they lost 2-1 to Fulham. And the worrying thing is, a lot of, I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of those were literally at home. I think 4 out of the 5 of those are at home. So it's like they can't really play that well at home. And a lot of these upsets happen at Old Trafford, which really shouldn't be happening. You need to make your home stadium really just a fortress. It needs to be very difficult to actually go to a top tier team stadium and actually win. That's like the whole point of really playing at home. You're meant to play your best there. So if Man United really want to return to the top and be one of those teams in contention for a Premier League title, they really need to at least improve at home. And it's weird because they seem to play better away than at home, which is really weird, and I don't really get that. So I'm kind of just going to go through the team. I'm not going to go through players or like all the players individually, but I'm going to go through the team and really see if we can find out where the inconsistency really is. So starting at goalkeeper, we have Andre Onana, who I will admit has been very shaky since he's come to the club. He's really made quite a lot of mistakes, and some of these mistakes have cost us games, not just in the Premier League but in the Champions League. He's fumbled the ball, he's made pretty bad saves that have ended up going in, or he's just parried the ball straight to an attacking player. So even though he's had a shaky start, I do think he has shown signs of improvement. He's becoming more inconsistent and he's making, saves more consistently. However, he needs to be more consistent when it comes to shot stopping. That's the main thing I would say with Onana. And moving on to the defence, I think, this is just my opinion, I think we have some pretty good fullbacks who do a very good job. So like Luke Shaw and Diego Dalot, they don't really make catastrophic mistakes. They might make a mistake here and there, but overall I think that they're 2 solid fullbacks that do a very good job for Man United, and also they're good going forward as well. They've been able to provide some good crosses, they've been able to make some good assists during the season as well. So with the defence, it's when we really come to the central players. So when Varane is playing, he's usually very good in defence, and we usually do play quite well, especially when he's playing with Lisandro Martinez, who unfortunately I don't think has really been able to play that much this season. So when Martinez and Varane are in defence, I do think that it's a very good pairing and the defence is a lot more consistent. However, when he starts playing with Maguire or Lindelof, this is when more mistakes are made, and I think this is where Varane is kind of made to look worse than he actually is, because he then has to cover for their mistakes, and because Maguire and Lindelof are like quite a bit slower, they haven't got as much pace, it's kind of easier to get around them and outrun them from quicker forwards. So then Varane has to kind of come across and make up for those mistakes, whereas he could be then leaving a gap as well for someone else to run into. So I think when it's Martinez and Varane, the defense is very good. Not a lot of mistakes are made. However, when he's paired with Maguire or Lindelof, that's when the mistakes are made and our defense looks pretty terrible. So now moving on to the midfield, we have one of the stand-up players here, we have Kobbie Mainoo, who I think has really stepped up in Casemiro's absence, and he's really forced himself into the first team, which is brilliant because it's nice to see a youth player actually come up through the Man United kind of system, shall we say. I think he's a very good player for Man United, who hopefully will continue improving, but I think he's kind of made the central of midfield his own, if that makes any sense. And he's proven to be a very good commodity to the team. So now moving on to Casemiro, I think he's done okay. He's kind of got into a bit of trouble with the refs, which really isn't a good thing in the Premier League. I think there's a few things that he would have got away with in La Liga that he won't get away with now. Like I said, I think he's done okay, but he hasn't really been back for long, so I think it's a bit quick to kind of make a pure judgment on him. But Casemiro and Mainoo, I think, will be a pretty good pairing. Plus, Mainoo can learn a lot as well, so that could hopefully help him improve and turn into the player that it looks like Mainoo could be. But yeah, for Casemiro, he's done okay since he's come back, and I don't think he's been back long enough to really make a fair judgment on him. And then really the last midfielder, Bruno Fernandes, he hasn't really done anything spectacular. He's just done what Bruno always does, and I just don't think there's really much to say about him. He's done what he usually does, despite kind of the shortcomings of the team. He does still bitch and moan more than I'd like, but that's what he comes with. That's what comes with Bruno. So yeah, I think Bruno has just been as good as he usually is. He's had his odd brilliant game here and there where he does something to basically win us the game, but he's not the type of player to have those outstanding performances every single game. So yeah, Bruno's just been Bruno. And now moving on to the attack. This is probably the main reason I've made this video, because Man United's attack this season has been literally the model of inconsistency. So just going on to Antony, he barely does anything. Literally, when he comes on, few step overs, loses the ball a few times. Waste of 80 million. That's all I've got to say on Antony. Fucking waste of space at the moment. Now going on to Garnacho. He has his games here and there. He is a young player, so he kind of needs to grow into basically this. But he switches from playing really well to not really doing much. And it's not like he doesn't do much in a bad way. He just doesn't really have those brilliant sparks that he's shown. So when he's not doing much, it's just like he's not really getting the ball that much. When he gets the ball, he doesn't really do much with it. I don't know really how to put this into perspective, because it's not like he's losing the ball or anything. He's just not scoring the goals. He's not putting the crosses in, probably because it's not there. So I think that is good, because it shows a sign of maturity where he's not trying to create something out of nothing all the time. So with Garnacho, it's either he's playing really well or he's just not really doing much and he's quite quiet during the game. Now moving on to Marcus Rashford. He really wasn't able to do anything at the start of the season, which was a big worry, because usually after Rashford has a season like he had last season, he just kind of drops off a bit the season after, or the couple of seasons after. And this season he just couldn't really seem to do anything. It's like he wasn't scoring goals, he wasn't getting any assists or anything, he wasn't really making any chances, and it was kind of a worry because it seemed like he had a huge drop off. However, now I do think he's starting to come into his own a bit, and he's starting to play a lot better, especially with having Højlund up front as well. He's had to adjust to that. So yeah, I do think that Rashford is playing better. He's not playing to anywhere near the standard that he can play. And I think he has had a few personal issues as well, so that's going to affect how he plays. But I think he's really kind of adjusted, which is very good, because now he can hopefully start playing better and hopefully start contributing a lot more as well. So now the last player that I'm going to talk about is Højlund. And really, with Rasmus Højlund, it was something more like he just needed time to settle in. I think players who are like 20 years old who come over to the Premier League for like 70-80 million, they're not really given much chance to actually settle into the league, and it is a very difficult league to settle into. So he has had a lot of criticism. However, now it seems like he's kind of got into his rhythm. He knows how he needs to play, and he's just really started implementing that as well as possible. So I do think now Højlund has really kind of settled in, and he's got used to how he needs to play in the Premier League and how he needs to play in this team, because he's been putting up a few goals recently as well, so I think he's really found his rhythm, plus he's got used to playing with his teammates around him, and that probably sounds a bit stupid, but when you go and get new teammates, they play in a different way and the team plays in a different way, so you need to really find out how you fit into that team, and I think that Højlund's he's done that and he's settled into life in the Premier League. So overall, I do think it was at the start, it was the attack that was really inconsistent. The defence wasn't really doing that badly. They'd have the odd game where 2-3 goals would go in and we'd be whacked 3-0 or 3-1, but overall I do think it was the attack, and now I have the worry that it's going to go back to being the defense again. So let me know down in the comments really what you think about Man United this season. What do you think really the cause of Man United's inconsistency is? Do you think it's one part of the field? Do you think it's multiple parts of the field? Leave that down in the comments. If you like this video and you liked my little breakdown, leave a like on the video and go and check out the other videos on my channel, because I do a range of videos releasing once a week. And yeah, if you like them, subscribe so you don't miss the videos. And yeah, thank you for listening, and I will see you in the next video.